Welcome back to the 8th concession. My name is Natalie. Well, even though the garden is in full swing right now and there's lots to be doing outside, weeding, watering, even some harvesting, I'm in the kitchen today for a very specific reason. We are celebrating my daughter-in-law's birthday tomorrow, and she's asked me to make her a very special treat. Now, this is something that I've made for her over the years because it is such a delicious recipe that once you try it, I can almost guarantee that you will never eat store-bought again. And what I'm talking about is from scratch, homemade coconut cream pie. Now, the recipe comes from one of my favorite recipe books, Food That Really Schmecks. And this book was written by a woman who lived in this general area in southern Ontario. She had a lot of contact with the Mennonites who make everything from scratch, and her recipes are delicious and simple. Now, the first time I started making this, I was kind of nervous. Making a cream pie sounded very complex, but it really isn't that hard. And as I mentioned, the taste is just so amazing. You won't want to taste those or eat those sort of styrofoamish type of frozen cream pies you can get in the store ever again. So I make my coconut cream pie actually with a graham wafer crust instead of like a pastry crust. So I'm going to be starting with that and then moving on to the cream filling. Now, the best thing about this cream filling is it's very versatile. You can make different kinds of cream pies all from the same basic recipe. And I'll talk about that as I'm making it and show you how easy that is too. So let's get going. A graham wafer crust is pretty simple to put together. 1.5 cups graham wafers, half a cup of sugar, half a cup of softened butter or margarine, and a teaspoon of flour. You can also add a bit of cinnamon if that will go well with your recipe, but I'm not doing that for coconut cream pie. I'm going to mix it all together, put it in our pan, and bake it at 300 degrees for about 15 to 20 minutes. So while our pie crust is cooling, we're going to go ahead with our cream pie filling. We start with half a cup of sugar, then a pinch of salt. Then we're going to add 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. Now the recipe calls for whole milk, but we just have 1% in our house. So instead of 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, I have 2 heaping tablespoons of cornstarch to kind of make up for the missing fat in the milk. So 2 heaping tablespoons of cornstarch. Give that a bit of a stir, making a mess. Then we're going to add 1 egg, courtesy of our ladies. And I'm going to give that a stir until it's all nicely mixed. Or on the stove. Oh my goodness. You want to make sure this is nicely mixed before you add the milk. Now we're going to add the milk. The recipe calls for 2.5 cups of whole milk, but because again the milk I'm using is much thinner, I use 2.25 cups of 1% milk. I've had to make a few adjustments. Now this is the part that demands a little bit of patience. We are going to heat this over medium heat until it thickens. I'm going to time it to see how long it takes. The recipe does say to use a double boiler. You can see it's starting to thicken now because the color is changing slightly. There's some darker yellow specks in there, and you can see it looks different when I stir. I'm going to turn the heat down a bit. I don't want to burn it. You can see how it's almost more like pudding now. You want to wait until it's really nice and thick and some bubbles break the surface. That took about 8 minutes, in case you were wondering how long you'd have to stand here and stir. Oh, some bubbles have broken the surface. That is done. Now I'm going to add a teaspoon of vanilla And it calls for a lump. You gotta love old-time recipes. A lump of butter. I figure that's about a tablespoon is a lump. So this is the basic cream pie recipe. It's that easy. And from here you can turn it into almost any cream pie that you want. I'm going to add coconut. About 1.25 cups. But if you want to make banana cream pie, you could leave out the coconut, obviously, and just slice some bananas into your pie shell. And if you want to make a spice cream pie, you could add 3/4 teaspoon of cinnamon and cloves instead of the coconut. You could make coffee cream pie by putting in a tablespoon of instant coffee powder, or you could substitute 1 cup of strong coffee for 1 cup of the milk. Really, the possibilities are endless. I'm going to let this cool just a little bit before I put it in my pie shell. So now into the fridge it goes to cool and set up. And then I'm going to whip up some whipped cream to go on top. Can't wait. There you go. I've let it cool in the fridge overnight. I've whipped up some cream. I haven't put it on the pie because some people like it on, some people don't. So try this pie. I guarantee you'll love it. Bye for now.